In search for the next tight end, are we overlooking Baylor Bear Michael Trigg?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texan podcast is for Texan fans all around. Continuing with my prospects for Houston series for the daily bonus coverage. Today I'm looking at Michael Trigg, tight end out of Baylor. Baylor Bear to Houston Texan 2.0. Y'all know we got Jalen Petrie in the building a few years back. Now we'll see if the Houston Texans can swing it again. If he's a match, if he's a fit, we'll look at his strengths and weaknesses on today's pod. Shout out to my everydayers from the Himalayas for making the Locked On Texans podcast your first listen of the day and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And I want to make sure that you guys know about the Everydayer Club. It's always popping, so don't miss out. Right, free agency is here, and so are we. So now through March 15th, go ad-free on the Everydayer Club with promo code free agency, no spaces. Again, now through March 15th, you can go ad-free and keep this conversation going on Discord. Join the club at lockedontexans.supercast.com. But Michael Trigg, 6'4", 240. That 240 isn't a real 240 in many ways. Like 240 on 6'4", looks amazing. And I'm not taking away from the young man. What I'm getting at is his 240 doesn't aid into his weakness of his game. And I'll dive into that in a moment. He turned heads at the NFL Combine by recording the largest wingspan ever measured for a tight end. So I took some time to watch his tape. And what I noticed, there was a play versus Auburn where Trigg motioned from the slot back in to pick up the block on an A-gap blitz. And that play was magical. Alignment flexibility, to me, in my opinion, may be a super trait of his, being able to line up in line, in the slot, split wide, though you see more snaps of him in the slot. And I want to point out, Baylor routinely lined him up in the slot. The numbers were staggering, 265 snaps at the slot compared to 104 line tight. But why is the question? Run blocking DBs is a lot easier than edge rushers and some linebackers. So the play that I opened up with, the A-gap blitz pickup, which again was magical, it was beautiful to watch, that was a smaller linebacker, right? He had issues throughout that Auburn game with bigger defenders, specifically from the edge spot. But he is a motion machine. For pass catching or blocking, whatever the task is, he is comfortable moving across the offense. Run blocking is a strong weakness of his, extremely strong. Partially a reason why I look at Trigg as a prospect, and I'm kind of like, oof, I don't know about Trigg. The physical tools are there, but his tape will show confusion on the run blocking assignment in general at times. And Trigg could be very disinterested when these tasks were blocking within the trenches. So anything in space, like moments of allowing a defender to cross his face without getting a hand on that defender, that was an issue. His hands are routinely high, creating no real leverage to win with. That's a problem. Completely different from when he's asked to block in space, where he'll have much better reps. Much better. Overall, I think his blocking is probably the worst part of his game right now. I'd say so. And the longer he goes without being involved on the offense, the more his effort starts to drop. Let's take a quick break really quick, Texas fans, listeners, and viewers, before we get back to talk about some things that I really do like and that stand out within his game. We live in a world where we can stream anything, order food in minutes, and carry supercomputers in our pockets. And somehow buying tickets to a live game still feels complicated. Hidden fees, jumping prices, endless steps. There has to be a better way, and there is with Game Time. It gives fans the advantage and getting tickets simple. Whether it's NFL, NBA, MLB, concerts, comedy, whatever you're into, Game Time has a ticket for you. You can even spot zone deals where you pick the section and Game Time picks the seat for extra savings. 2 taps and you have great seats locked in, fast, easy, done. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, creating the code and redeem code Locked On. Create an account and redeem code Locked On, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. And also, Texas fans, while we're at it, let's talk about how Indeed makes your life easier. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. With the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. If you're hiring, go through Indeed sponsored jobs, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Again, just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support the Locked On Texans podcast by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Welcome back, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. So, all of the weaknesses, or all of the things that watching the tape that I noticed of Michael Trigg, and blocking was one of them, right? I brought up the blocking. The fact is, all of that said, you ain't drafting Trigg for his blocking abilities. When we talk about Michael Trigg getting the ball in his hands is why any team is going to look to draft him. Was 4th in deep yards for a tight end this year, 3rd in deep catches for tight ends this year, 9th in contested catches, 4th in average depth of field per target, and 17 missed tackles on the year. A team is going to draft him because of his athletic ability with the ball, because he had 5 games this season where his longest catch was of 30 or more yards on a catch. A team is going to draft him because from a route running ability standpoint, at his size, you can trust him with almost every route to run. He's extremely quick with intermediate routes. That's probably where he wins the most. That's probably where he wins the easiest. It's like second nature for him. And I think his best route, where he may be the most dangerous at the next level, the shallow crossing routes. I mean, his ability to dictate how he's going to run that route depending on what the linebacker is showing, I think the small things in what makes him a great player at the college level could make him a really good player in the NFL. Always attacking the defender, possesses great body control. The problem is he drops a lot of passes, routine concentration drops. So, yeah, the ability is there, but his weaknesses knock him out of being a day 1, maybe even a day 2 pick. For Houston, what he does well is what they need, a big body target to be an extension of Nico and Dalton Schultz. However, we know this team's issue in the run game, well documented, well talked about, it's been that way for months. But we know the issue, and we know how much a determined blocking tight end aids to that. We also know how much the Texans look for that in their tight ends. If you don't got effort, you don't got the Houston Texans in your back pocket. So when I look at his weaknesses, I say, man, Trigg's not that. At least not in this stage of his career coming out of Baylor. He is not that. The effort is a problem. The inconsistency hands are a problem. And it comes down to there were plenty of times on tape where the guy he was supposed to have a hand on he was supposed to pick up, that guy made the play in the run game. Yeah. Texas fans, would you like Trigg in Houston? I'll say no, even though the athletic profile is extremely tempting. I'll say no to that. With that being said, your offensive line coach has done wonders last year. Your offensive coordinator here in Houston, former tight ends coach, James Ferentz is here now. I kind of wonder, does he play a role to how Coach Popovich's role in 2025 was to, get the offensive line to the next level? Is he going to be that for Houston's tight end unit this year? It's unfair to ask Dalton Schultz to carry the load for another season, even though he got an extension. And they really like him, but it's time to look towards the future. And it's also just, more importantly, it's time to get him a running mate. So not to say Houston couldn't get their hands on Michael Trigg and get him to a place where his flaws are not as glaring in his first year and he continues to improve. Coaching matters. At any level of ball, coaching matters. That said, y'all let me know. If Texan fans out there, if you like Michael Trigg enough to get him on a day 2, mid to late day 2 pick or day 3 pick, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Until next time, ladies and gents, and Texan fans across the nation, peace.